Captain Jackson Miles braced against the rough, cold surface of the abandoned outpost's exterior wall. Above, the barren sky of Proxima Centauri b churned with storm clouds, their rapid swirl reflecting the tumultuous nature of the galaxy itself. The wind howled through derelict structures, carrying whispers of forgotten wars and technological marvels buried beneath layers of dust and neglect. "Scan complete, Captain. Anomaly detected beneath the East Quadrant ruins," reported Eli, his second-in-command, through the crackling comlink. Jackson's eyes narrowed, focusing on the distant silhouette of collapsed infrastructure, where Earth's once mighty defenses lay dormant. With a firm nod, Jackson signaled the team forward. Their boots crunched on gravel, the sound sharp and loud in the silent expanse, a stark reminder of the desolation that had claimed this outpost. "Stay sharp, everyone. We don't know what's waiting for us down there," he murmured, his voice barely rising above the wind's eerie moans. Descending into the ruins, the smell of decay and rust filled the air, pungent and overpowering. They maneuvered through narrow passages, their lights slicing through the darkness like sabers through space. Suddenly, the beam from Jackson's flashlight landed on an archaic console, its edges worn but the central interface eerily pristine. "This is it," Jackson whispered, his fingers hovering over the console's activation sequence. A sense of history permeated the atmosphere, as if the very air was saturated with the echoes of those who had once commanded this post. With a decisive press, the console hummed to life, its screen flickering with cryptic data. Eli leaned in, his brow furrowed as he deciphered the ancient codes. "Captain, this AI, it's not just ancient tech. It's advanced, way beyond what we've encountered before." As they absorbed the gravity of their find, a sudden sharp static burst through their comlinks. "Contact! Unknown craft approaching fast!" shouted Lara, their lookout. Jackson's heart raced as he issued commands. "Eli, download everything. We need to move now." The urgency was palpable as they prepared to confront whatever was hurtling towards them from the cosmos. Outside, the sky had darkened further, the clouds now a tumultuous gray, mirroring the growing dread. As they emerged from the ruins, a sleek, shadowy vessel sliced through the atmosphere, its design unfamiliar and menacing. "Positions, team!" Jackson barked, his team instinctively forming a defensive perimeter around the site. Their weapons, though primitive compared to the potential of the technology they had just uncovered, were ready. The vessel landed with a thud that sent a shockwave through the ground, stirring a cloud of dust around its sleek hull. The hatch hissed open, and a figure clad in an iridescent suit emerged, its eyes hidden behind reflective visors. Jackson stepped forward, his voice steady but forceful. "I am Captain Jackson Miles of the Earth Defense Corps. You are trespassing on sovereign human territory." The alien paused, its head tilting slightly as if assessing Jackson's words. Then, in a smooth, modulated tone, it responded, "I am Seeker Thal from the Kjarvian Dominion. We sense the activation of ancient technology. We come to negotiate." Jackson's mind raced as he processed the implications. This was no raid. It was a diplomatic approach, albeit under tense circumstances. Behind him, Eli nodded subtly, a signal that the data transfer was complete. "Then let's talk," Jackson said, lowering his weapon slightly, but not enough to appear vulnerable. "But know this, we defend what is ours." As the alien stepped forward, the wind picked up, swirling around them like the currents of change, hinting at the storms to come. In the distance, the ruins whispered of battles past, and those yet to be fought, as Earth's forgotten powers stirred once more, ready to claim their place in the galaxy. As the alien named Seeker Thal stepped onto the rocky soil of Proxima Centauri b, the setting sun cast long shadows over the ancient outpost, creating a mosaic of light and darkness. The air was sharp with the tang of ionization, a silent testament to the technology waking from its slumber beneath their feet. "Your activation of the AI has consequences that extend beyond this moon." Thal's voice was clear, the translation software making it almost melodious against the howling winds. Jackson, his posture relaxed yet alert, met the alien's gaze. We've defended our right to this place for generations without knowing its full significance. We're prepared to protect it still." Thal nodded, their suits shimmering with a spectrum of colors that seemed to absorb the dimming light. "And it is not our intention to challenge that right, Captain Miles. Rather, we propose a mutual exploration of its capabilities." Jackson exchanged a glance with Eli, who discreetly tapped his datapad, confirming the secure backup of their preliminary AI data. "And what does the Carvian Dominion gain from this cooperation?" he asked, his tone laced with suspicion but open to diplomatic possibilities. "Knowledge, Captain. We are seekers of knowledge," Thal replied, gesturing towards the horizon where the first stars of the evening were appearing. "And perhaps an alliance in the face of other, less benign entities." The mention of other entities hung in the air, a veiled threat or perhaps a common concern. It was enough to tighten the atmosphere, the previous calm giving way to a charged silence. Jackson felt the weight of his decision not just for his team, but potentially for all of humanity. "We'll consider your proposal, but first we verify the AI's data and its implications for our security." "Understandable," Thal conceded, stepping back towards their ship. "We will await your communication. Do not delay, Captain. The galaxy does not pause for deliberation." As the alien vessel lifted off, leaving a swirl of dust and a pressure wave in its wake that rattled the derelict metal structures around them, Jackson turned to his team. "Let's get to work. Lara, keep a watch for any more uninvited guests. Eli, deep dive into that AI. I want everything it knows, and I want it yesterday." Back inside the outpost, the air was cooler, the ancient walls providing a respite from the external elements, but not from the tension. Eli worked feverishly at the console, his fingers dancing over the holographic interface as streams of data flowed across the screen. "This AI isn't just advanced, it's predictive. It's been analyzing galactic movements and politics for centuries." Jackson peered over his shoulder, watching as patterns and predictions about political shifts and possible wars played out in fast forward. "Can it predict how our friends out there will move against us?" "It's working on that, but its calculations are based on a lot of unknown variables. It's like it's trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing," Eli responded, his focus never wavering from the screen. The rest of the team fortified the outpost, setting up sensors and defenses, the soft clicks and clacks of their work, a stark contrast to the silent anticipation of what the AI might reveal. Lara's voice crackled over the comm. "All quiet for now, but I don't expect it'll stay that way." Night had fallen completely now, a tapestry of stars illuminating the galaxy's complexity. Inside, the outpost was a hive of activity, every member of the team attuned to the task at hand. Jackson stood at the console, watching the alien stars through the tattered window. Eli finally leaned back, the glow from the console painting his face in hues of blue and green. "It's got something, Jax. Not just predictions, strategies. It's offering strategies." "Let's hear them," Jackson said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The AI laid out a series of maneuvers, diplomatic channels, and potential military strikes that were dizzyingly complex, yet eerily feasible. Jackson processed the information, his strategic mind mapping out moves and countermoves like a grandmaster in a cosmic game of chess. "We use this. We start with the diplomatic routes it suggests, establish a line of communication with Thal, but we prepare for the less benign options. We need contingencies for every scenario it's laid out." Eli nodded, his earlier reservations giving way to a cautious optimism. "We're playing with fire here, Jax." Jackson's reply was a smirk as he looked back at the stars. "Isn't that what humanity has always done best?" As the team settled into their roles, the outpost no longer felt abandoned but alive with potential and purpose. The promise of dawn on Proxima Centauri b was not just a new day, but possibly a new era, one that Jackson and his team were ready to shape, armed with ancient wisdom and newfound alliances. In the early hours of the Proxima Centauri b dawn, the horizon blurred into a canvas of dark purples and deep blues, the celestial ballet of light hinting at the calm before a storm. Captain Jackson Miles stood outside the outpost, his gaze fixed on the eerie tranquility that belied the strategic tempest brewing in his mind. "We've got the preliminary diplomatic channels open, Captain," Eli reported, approaching with his datapad glowing softly in the dim morning light. "The Carvian Dominion seems receptive but cautious." Jackson nodded, his thoughts tinged with the sharp tang of suspicion. "Keep them talking, Eli. We need to know they're committed to this alliance before we expose any more cards." As they returned to the shelter of the outpost, the air was saturated with the scent of brewing coffee, a stark contrast to the crisp, sterile atmosphere that had pervaded the space just days before. Lara was monitoring the communication feeds, her fingers flying over the controls with practiced ease. "No unusual activity detected, but I'm keeping the sensors on high alert." Jackson's attention then shifted to the tactical display, where holographic projections of the galaxy's political landscape shifted and morphed with each incoming data stream. "It's time to test the waters," he mused aloud. "Eli, bring up the railgun schematics. Let's see if our old tech can get some new life." Within the outpost's cramped but functional command center, the air buzzed with a tension that was more stimulating than suffocating. The walls, lined with screens and equipment, flickered with data, casting a spectral dance of light across the faces of the team. As Eli loaded the ancient yet formidable railgun blueprints, the strategic value of such technology in current galactic tensions became starkly apparent. "These could tip the balance in our favor, but the risk of escalation is high," Jackson pondered, his voice carrying a mix of resolve and concern. The console before them displayed the railguns, massive, almost brutish in design, yet holding an elegant lethality. "If we can get these operational, we can secure more than just this outpost," Eli added, his tone balancing hope with the gravity of their situation. "Prepare a simulation. I want a full breakdown of capabilities, range, and potential fallout by tonight," Jackson ordered, his directive slicing through the uncertainty like a ship cleaving through cosmic dust. Night descended swiftly as they worked, the stars twinkling like distant eyes watching their every move. The simulation ran in the background, a constant reminder of the potential firepower at their disposal. Meanwhile, Jackson paced the floor, his boots thudding softly against the metal, each step a drumbeat to the rhythm of war strategy. The results were more promising than they had dared hope. The railguns could indeed be restored to operational status with some modifications and the right materials, which fortunately were abundant on this moon. "Let's draft the restoration plan," Jackson decided, his decision echoing in the compact room with a weight that felt like destiny manifesting. "Eli, coordinate with the engineering team. Lara, keep an eye on those feeds. We can't afford any surprises." As the team dispersed to their tasks, the outpost buzzed with a newfound energy. Tools clattered, voices murmured over comlinks, and the scent of ozone wafted through the air, a byproduct of their high-energy tools and tech at work. Jackson remained at the command center, the projections and data streams painting his face in hues of blue and green. His mind raced through scenarios, alliances, and potential betrayals. The galaxy was a chessboard, and he was now a player, not just a pawn. In the quiet moments of the night, as the artificial lights cast long shadows over the metallic surfaces, Jackson reflected on the path that had led him here. From Earth, a seemingly insignificant player in the galactic theater, to here, at the brink of a power shift that could alter the course of history. The final checks on the railgun simulation confirmed their readiness. A subtle vibration ran through the outpost as the systems aligned, the sensation more felt than heard, a silent testament to the power they were about to wield. "We're ready, Captain," Eli's voice cut through the silence, his figure framed against the doorway. "What's our next move?" Jackson turned, his eyes glinting with a strategic fire. "We strengthen our defenses, and then we show the galaxy that Earth is not just a relic of the past, but a force for the future." As dawn approached, the first light of the new day mingled with the artificial glow of the outpost. The horizon, once merely a boundary, now seemed like a starting line, and as Jackson watched it, he knew that the real game was just beginning. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not only back in the game, but was playing for keeps. As the first light of dawn split the horizon into a vibrant tapestry of oranges and purples, Captain Jackson Miles surveyed the landscape around the outpost, now bristling with newly installed defenses. The railguns stood like silent sentinels, their sleek, refurbished barrels glinting under the rising sun, promising a strength that Earth hadn't shown in centuries. "The installations are operational, Captain," Eli reported, stepping up beside Jackson, with a nod towards the imposing structures. "We're ready to test fire when you are." Jackson turned, his gaze lingering on the railguns. "Proceed with the test, but keep it controlled. We don't need to draw more attention than we already have." The air was crisp, carrying a faint aroma of ionized particles left from the overnight installations. It mingled with the earthy sense of the barren landscape, a reminder of the planet's harsh beauty and resilience. As Eli relayed the command, a hushed anticipation settled over the team. Lara monitored the sensor arrays closely, her expression focused and calm. The slight buzz of communication equipment provided a soft backdrop to the tense silence. The test commenced with a sharp report that echoed off the surrounding structures, more a swift crack than a booming explosion, designed to minimize sound travel in the thin atmosphere. Jackson watched the dummy targets they'd set up the previous night disintegrate under the precise power of the railguns, their effectiveness leaving no room for doubt. "Target impact successful," Lara confirmed, her voice cutting through the low murmur of impressed murmurs from the team. No unexpected signatures detected on the sensors. Jackson nodded, satisfied. "Good. Keep monitoring. I want updates every 10 minutes. Eli, start planning a drill schedule. We need to be proficient with these if we're going to stand a chance." The day progressed with mechanical precision, the team moving through their tasks with a well-oiled efficiency that spoke of their extensive training and heightened stakes. Jackson spent the day rotating between overseeing the railgun drills and consulting with his tactical advisors on potential strategies. As dusk approached, casting long shadows over the outpost, Jackson stood once more at the edge of the command center, his eyes scanning the horizon. Something in the way the shadows stretched, twisting slightly with the planet's subtle geological tremors, caught his attention. "Eli, do the sensors cover Sector 7 fully?" Jackson asked, pointing towards the area where the shadows seemed to deepen unnaturally. Eli checked his data pad, frowning slightly. "There's a blind spot. The terrain's causing interference. Send a recon team. I don't like unknowns, not with what's at stake," Jackson ordered, his voice low but firm. A small squad headed out, their movements swift and silent, disappearing into the growing dusk. The wait was tense, the outpost suspended in a quiet that felt like the deep breath before a plunge. The team returned under cover of darkness, their faces grim. "Captain, you were right to check," one of the scouts reported, handing over a series of grainy photographs. "There's been recent activity. Not ours. Looks like someone's interested in our position." Jackson studied the images, his mind racing. The photos showed faint impressions in the soil and irregular disturbances that didn't match their equipment or patterns. "Increase surveillance. Double the guard tonight. No one sleeps until we know who or what is out there." The night passed slowly, the outpost alive with quiet activity. Every sensor and screen was monitored continuously, every sound and movement checked and rechecked. The tension was a palpable taste in the air, metallic and sharp, like the aftertaste of adrenaline. In the command center, Jackson watched the live feeds, his eyes sharp for any anomaly. It was Lara who spotted it first. "Captain, you need to see this." The screen showed a thermal anomaly at the edge of the blind spot, a subtle shift in temperature that was easy to miss unless one knew exactly what to look for. "I think we have our lurker," Jackson murmured, staring at the screen. "Options?" Eli asked, standing beside him, his face set in lines of concentration. "We draw them out. Set up a feint, make them think they've got the upper hand," Jackson decided, his mind already forming the plan. "It's time we learned exactly who is playing games in our backyard." As preparations for the trap went underway, the outpost buzzed with a controlled urgency. Each member of the team knew their role, the weight of their tasks grounding them in purpose. Jackson watched them, pride mingling with the heavy responsibility he felt for each life under his command. As the trap was set and the players took their positions, the first hints of dawn tinged the sky. Jackson looked out towards the horizon, where light battled with darkness, a metaphor for their own looming confrontation. The game was set, the pieces were moving, and as the sun rose, so too would the veil of mystery surrounding their unseen adversary. The outpost, a beacon of Earth's renewed might and resolve, stood ready to face whatever came out of the shadows. The pre-dawn silence of Proxima Centauri b was deceptive, as beneath it lay the carefully orchestrated tension of Captain Jackson Miles and his team. They had laid their trap meticulously, a feint designed to flush out the entity spying from the shadows. With the first light creeping over the horizon, dust stirred at the edges of the outpost, not from natural winds but from the movements of their unseen adversaries. The team, concealed and vigilant, waited for Jackson's signal, their breaths soft clouds in the chilly morning air. "Ready," whispered Jackson into his comms, his voice a sharp edge in the quiet, setting the plan into motion. Lara, positioned at the command center, monitored the thermal sensors that now painted a clearer picture of their visitors, 3 heat signatures approaching cautiously from the east. The faint glow of sunrise illuminated the landscape, casting long shadows that seemed to reach towards the intruders. Jackson watched, his eyes narrowing as the figures became distinguishable against the terrain. Not Carvian, too tall, too heavily armored. These were mercenaries, likely sent by a rival faction interested in the ancient AI technology his team had unearthed. "Engage!" he ordered succinctly, his hand signal cutting through the air. The sound of railguns firing was not loud but precise, a series of sharp cracks that shattered the morning stillness as warning shots hit the ground directly in the path of the approaching mercenaries. The intruders halted, momentarily thrown off by the display of firepower. Through enhanced binoculars, Jackson observed them regrouping, their movements hesitant but not wholly deterred. They were professionals, after all, likely used to hostile receptions. "Captain Miles, we wish to parley," one of the mercenaries called out, his voice carrying across the short distance. Jackson's expression remained unreadable as he considered the request. Parley could be a tactic, but it also presented an opportunity to gather intelligence. "Approach slowly," Jackson replied, his voice commanding yet controlled. As the 3 mercenaries walked forward, their hands raised to show they were unarmed, the tension among Jackson's team shifted palpably, like the charged air before a storm. The mercenaries, each clad in nondescript combat gear that did little to reveal their origins, stopped a few meters away from Jackson's position. The lead mercenary, a tall figure with sharp eyes, spoke. "We represent the Corsair Coalition. You have something of great value. We propose a trade." Jackson listened, his mind racing through scenarios. The Corsair Coalition was notorious for their ruthless acquisitions. "And what could you offer that equals the value of what we possess?" he challenged, his tone skeptical yet intrigued. "Safe passage through contested territories, information on rival factions, and a temporary ceasefire," the mercenary listed, each offer calculated to tempt. Jackson weighed their words against the potential risks. Allies were valuable, but so was the element of surprise and the integrity of their mission. "I need proof of your sincerity," he countered, not willing to concede any ground yet. "We anticipated your caution, Captain Miles," the mercenary replied, nodding to one of his companions, who produced a data chip. "This contains coordinates to a Corsair cache. Consider it a gesture of good faith." Lara discreetly scanned the chip from a distance, her equipment silently confirming its authenticity and the value of the information it held. Jackson gave a subtle nod, his decision made. "We'll consider your proposal, but make no mistake. This outpost and its secrets are under our protection. Betray that, and the ceasefire ends." As the mercenaries withdrew, Jackson turned back to his team, his gaze firm and commanding. "Stay alert. This isn't over." The early morning's confrontation had shifted into a precarious alliance, but the true test of this new arrangement lay ahead. Throughout the day, the team fortified their defenses, the air filled with the sounds of construction and the sharp scent of welding. By evening, the outpost was not just a relic, but a stronghold, bristling with anticipation and readiness. As night fell, Jackson reviewed the data from the mercenaries' chip. Maps, communications logs, and strategic sites, pieces of a larger puzzle that hinted at the complexity of the galaxy's political landscape. This information could redefine their strategies, but it also painted a target on their backs. Resting against the cool metal of the command center, Jackson felt the weight of command heavier than ever. Each decision could tip the scales in this delicate balance of power. Yet, amidst these calculations, a part of him thrived under the pressure, driven by the challenge and the unyielding desire to secure a future for Earth in this alien-dominated galaxy. The stakes were high, and the night was long. Under the stark white lights of the outpost, Jackson and his team prepared for what was to come. The chessboard was set, the players ready, and the next move would be crucial. As the stars blinked silently above, the cold expanse of space seemed less empty, charged with the potential for conflict or cooperation. The mystery of who would make the next move hung in the air, as palpable as the chill of the Proxima night. As the ink-black sky of Proxima Centauri b transitioned to a less oppressive shade of twilight, signaling another rotation of the desolate planet, Captain Jackson Miles and his team prepared for the inevitable. The data chip, provided by the Corsair Coalition, had proven its worth, revealing not only the complex web of galactic politics but also the looming threats circling just beyond their sensors' reach. Jackson stood at the command center, overlooking the holographic map glittering with potential hotspots and strategic points. The cool air inside was periodically cut by the sharp, metallic clicks of the communication relays cycling, a constant reminder of the world outside, a world that buzzed with hidden currents of intrigue and danger. "Captain, we have an incoming transmission from the Carvian Dominion," Lara announced, her voice even but alert. She adjusted the frequency, tuning into the crackling line that soon cleared into a smooth stream of communication. "Captain Miles, this is Seeker Thal. We have monitored your recent engagements. It appears we share common adversaries." Thal's voice flowed through the speakers, measured and calm. Jackson's response was just as composed. "That appears to be the case, Seeker. It seems prudent for us to discuss potential cooperative strategies." "Agreed. I propose a meeting, neutral territory, within 3 standard days," Thal suggested, the sound of their voice betraying no hint of the tension likely brewing on their own ship. Jackson considered this, his gaze drifting over the map, pinpointing a location that would offer them tactical advantage, yet appear diplomatically neutral. "Coordinates to follow," he replied succinctly, confirming the meeting but keeping the specifics close for now. As the transmission ended, the team was already in motion, Eli updating defensive protocols while Lara set about securing the communications against potential eavesdroppers. The atmosphere was thick with the smell of hot electronics and cold coffee, a stark contrast to the sterile void outside. The preparations for the meeting were meticulous. Jackson oversaw the arrangement, ensuring every possible outcome was accounted for, from deception to outright betrayal. The selected meeting spot was a derelict station in orbit around a nearby asteroid, its systems long dead, a ghostly shell perfect for covert operations. When the day of the rendezvous arrived, the journey to the station was tense, the silence of space around them a vast echo chamber for their thoughts. The starlight cast the shuttle in a pallid glow, the surfaces inside cool to the touch, the only warmth coming from the subtle thrum of the life support systems keeping them tethered to existence. As they docked with the station, the airlock doors opened with a hiss that reverberated through the cramped space, a sound too loud in the enveloping silence of the abandoned outpost. Jackson led his team through the dimly lit corridors, their lights casting eerie shadows against the peeling walls, the scent of old metal and dust pervasive. Thal and their entourage were already waiting in the designated meeting room, the light from various screens casting an otherworldly glow on their faces. Greetings were curt, the underlying tension palpable as both parties took their seats at the makeshift table set up between them. The discussion was direct, both leaders laying out their concerns and proposed strategies. "Our intelligence suggests an increase in Corsair activities," Likely spurred by the knowledge of your acquisition, Thal stated, their eyes scanning the data pads in front of them. And our sensors have picked up unidentified probes near the outer sectors. Someone else is watching, waiting for an opportunity, Jackson added, his voice steady. The meeting progressed with proposals of shared patrols and intelligence exchanges, each concession measured and carefully considered. The clink of metal, as Lara adjusted a recording device, punctuated the weighty atmosphere, capturing every word for later analysis. As they concluded, Thal stood, extending a hand in a rare gesture of goodwill. Captain Miles, may this be the beginning of a fruitful alliance. Jackson took the hand, his grip firm. May it be so, Seeker Thal. Returning to the shuttle, the ride back to the outpost was less tense but filled with a cautious optimism. The stars outside seemed less hostile, a vast field of potential alliances and conflicts stretching out before them. The outpost welcomed them back with open arms, the familiar sounds of the base a comforting backdrop to the uncertainty of their new alliance. Jackson convened with his team immediately, laying out the details of their agreements and the next steps. Stay sharp. This alliance is a powerful tool, but it's also a beacon for our enemies. We must be vigilant, he instructed, his team nodding in agreement, their faces set in determined lines. As they dispersed to their respective duties, the mystery of who else might be lurking in the shadows loomed large. The outpost, a beacon in the dark, was now a symbol of Earth's growing influence and a target for those who would see them fail. Jackson watched the horizon from the command center, the twilight now deepening into night. The challenges ahead were many, but for the first time there was a clear path forward, illuminated by the starlight of potential and the dark silhouettes of ships that might, one day, be either friend or foe. The dusk settled on Proxima Centauri B, draping the outpost in hues of amber and gray, as Captain Jackson Miles and his team prepared for the next phase of their strategic operations. Fresh from forging an uneasy alliance with the Carvian Dominion, Jackson knew the real work, the implementation of their mutual defense strategy, was about to begin. Inside the command center, the air was charged with a focused intensity, the scent of recycled air mixed with the faint aroma of lubricant used on the door mechanisms, a reminder of the station's constant readiness. Jackson stood before a large digital map displaying the sector's star systems, each marked with potential flashpoints and assets. "All right, team, let's lay this out," Jackson began, his voice crisp in the still air of the command room. "We've agreed on shared patrols and intelligence. Now we need to integrate our railgun defenses with Carvian sensor technology." Eli nodded, pulling up schematics on his data pad. "The integration is tricky. Their tech is compatible, but it's sensitive. We'll need to recalibrate our systems to avoid overloading their circuits." Lara chimed in from her station, her fingers gliding over her console. "I've set up encrypted communication channels for real-time battle data sharing. It's secure, but we'll need to run constant checks to guard against breaches." As night deepened, casting long shadows against the walls of the outpost, the team delved into the intricacies of their task. The planning was meticulous, each step carefully weighed for risk and reward. Jackson, standing at the helm, directed the operations with a keen eye, ensuring every detail was accounted for. The first test of their joint defense system came sooner than expected. An alert sounded, a sharp, piercing tone that cut through the low murmur of discussions. "Incoming hostile signatures detected on the outer perimeter," Lara announced, her voice tense but controlled. The screens flickered to life, showing a group of unidentified ships maneuvering at the edge of sensor range, likely probing their defenses. Jackson's response was immediate. "Eli, coordinate with the Carvian fleet. Launch patrol drones. Let's see if our integration holds." The next hours were a ballet of blinking lights and strategic maneuvers. Carvian and human technologies interfaced seamlessly, the outpost's railguns adjusting to the enhanced sensor data provided by their allies. When the drones engaged the intruders, it was with precision that had been unattainable before, each strike a testament to the strength of their cooperation. "Hostiles retreating, Captain," Eli reported, relief mingled with satisfaction in his voice as he monitored the withdrawal of the unknown ships on his display. Jackson allowed himself a brief nod of approval. "Good work, everyone. Let's debrief and see what we can improve. This won't be the last time they test our defenses. As the team gathered to review the operation, the shared adrenaline of the encounter gave way to a collaborative spirit. Ideas exchanged freely. The data from the skirmish was invaluable, revealing not only the effectiveness of their combined arms but also areas for enhancement. Let's tighten up the drone deployment timing, Jackson suggested, pointing to a lag in the response curve on one of the graphs. And see if we can increase the railgun's targeting resolution when linked to Carvian sensors. The night waned as they refined their strategies, the once distant stars now seeming closer, their light mingling with the electronic glow of the command center's screens. The air grew cooler, the outpost settling back into a vigilant calm. In the quiet that followed their successful defense, Jackson looked out over the command center, his team absorbed in their tasks. The sense of unity, the blending of human and Carvian efforts, was palpable, each person a crucial link in the chain of their collective defense. This moment of peace was a brief respite in the grand scale of galactic politics, a reminder of what they could achieve together. Jackson felt the weight of future challenges, but also the confidence that they were building something robust here. As dawn approached, casting its first light on the outpost, the soft sounds of the station, the whisper of air circulation, the subtle shift of metal expanding with the warmth, were reminders of their continuous presence in this harsh yet promising sector of space. Jackson turned from the window back to his team, ready to strengthen their defenses, to plan for the next challenge. The galaxy was watching, and now, more than ever, they were ready to meet its gaze. As the first light of dawn stretched across the horizon of Proxima Centauri b, casting a glow on the fortified outpost, Captain Jackson Miles stood overlooking the command center, where his team was busy monitoring the peace they had fought so hard to achieve. The air was filled with a sense of accomplishment, but also with the unspoken understanding that peace was as delicate as it was hard-won. "Captain, the latest reports from the joint patrols are in," Lara announced, handing Jackson a datapad. Her voice carried the quiet strength that had become her hallmark. "Thank you, Lara," Jackson said, scanning the contents. "Any anomalies?" "None, sir. It appears the Corsair Coalition is keeping to the ceasefire, and our friends in the Carvian Dominion have reported no unusual activity along the sectors we share." Jackson nodded, a slight smile breaking through his usually stoic demeanor. "Excellent. Prepare a communique to both parties. Reaffirm our commitment to the Alliance and our readiness to defend it." As Lara returned to her station, Eli approached with his own update. "Integration of the railgun systems with Carvian tech has reached full operational capacity. We're now able to monitor and respond to threats faster than ever." "That's good to hear, Eli. Keep optimizing. Every fraction of a second could be crucial," Jackson replied, fully aware of the weight each decision carried, each improvement made. The day progressed with the outpost running like a well-oiled machine, a testament to the unity and efficacy of the crew. As dusk approached, Jackson convened his team for a briefing, their faces illuminated by the soft light of the setting sun filtering through the command center's viewports. "Today marks a significant milestone for us," Jackson began, his voice resonant and firm. "Through cooperation and determination, we have not only secured our outpost, but also contributed to the stability of this sector. Each of you has played a pivotal role in this achievement." The team listened, their expressions a mix of pride and anticipation, knowing well the challenges they had overcome and those still lurking in the stars beyond. But let us not become complacent. Our work here is not just about maintaining peace. It's about proving that humanity has a vital role to play in this galaxy. Our resilience, our willingness to reach out in diplomacy, and our readiness to defend our allies make us not just survivors but leaders. The room filled with a charged silence as the weight of Jackson's words sank in. Here, at the edge of known space, they were more than just a crew. They were a beacon of humanity's potential. "As we move forward," Jackson continued, "let us carry the lessons we've learned into every operation, every negotiation, every encounter. We are the architects of our fate, and we build our future not just for ourselves, but for all who share this galaxy with us." He paused, letting his gaze linger on each member of his team, his next words chosen with care. "I am proud to stand with you, not just as your captain, but as your comrade." The team erupted into a spontaneous round of applause, a rare outburst of emotion in the typically restrained military atmosphere, reflecting the depth of their shared experiences. Later, as the stars took their places in the velvet night sky, Jackson stood alone in the command center, looking out into the vastness of space. The challenges ahead were many, but for the first time, he felt the true magnitude of what they had accomplished. They had not only secured a position in the galaxy, but had also shifted the narrative of humanity from interstellar newcomers to respected equals. In the silence of the command center, with only the soft whisper of air recycling systems in the background, Jackson felt a profound connection to the men and women he led, to the allies they had made, and to the countless others who would one day hear the story of this outpost at the edge of the known universe. The outpost, once a symbol of isolation and desperation, was now a testament to human ingenuity and the unyielding spirit of cooperation. Here, under the watchful eyes of 1,000 stars, humanity had not only found a way to survive, but to thrive. Echoes of valor, of unity, of hope resonated through the corridors of the outpost, carried on the gentle currents of the Proxima Centauri B winds, whispering of a future where humanity was not just a participant in the cosmic dance, but one of its most influential leaders. As Jackson turned away from the viewport, his heart was steady, his resolve firmer than ever. They were ready for whatever the galaxy held next, armed with the most powerful weapons known to any species, unity and a relentless drive to forge a better tomorrow.